Good morning. I have felt so much really fun creative inspiration to hop on again and kind of give another just reflection on some of the themes and the forecasting I'm tuning into as we enter into this week. Today is July 9th, and so this video is created kind of tuning into the dates between July 9 and July 15 of 2023. We just are coming out of this full moon. The week before now is the full moon and the Sirius Gateway Stargate portal. How are you? I actually am just sensing right now even to just pause a moment, give us space to answer that question. So I encourage you, maybe put a hand on the heart, a hand on your womb or hara. Just sort of drop in, sinking out of this prefrontal cortex mind and letting it almost like honey just drip slowly down into the body. And now I'm going to ask again, how are you? Is there a word that's naturally arising right now? I've been really in a lot of conversation with two of my very dear friends this week around a similar reflection that the three of us have had. And it's honestly been a reflection we've had over the past, probably the last couple months, but it's really come to a forefront in the last week. And I have some senses on why that would be in the field and astrologically as well. So I just kind of want to presence this. And the theme was this idea of being addicted to things in life being difficult. And that might make you go, huh, at first, but think about it. How much easier is it to focus on worry, anxiety, fear, heaviness, density? I know for me, it's really easy. I cry every day. I'm pretty in touch with like some of my more difficult emotions. And it's a real gift, I feel, to be in this space where I can touch them and work with them and move with them and feel them. And I've really felt this invitation to, in the same way that I would kind of lean in, maybe almost expect things to be difficult, and then kind of just like merge with that energy or that frequency easily. I've been playing with doing the reverse of that, okay? So this for me has created quite a challenge, but it's this idea of leaning in when things feel good. Leaning in when, even if it's the smallest of details, like, for instance, having a friend surprise you with a drink, maybe your favorite coffee or tea or something like that. It's just small. Or maybe there's been some desire for a certain kind of connection with your partner that you just feel like you haven't really gotten. And all of a sudden, he or she just starts to like kind of do the thing that you've been hoping. But then maybe there's some like tension there, a tightness, because you can't even receive that good thing that you've been hoping for, kind of dreaming for, maybe even praying for. So I've been playing with this, and I think I use the phrase a lot, like, let it move through you. And sometimes I think it can feel confusing. Like, what does that even mean, to let whatever it is move through me? So if I'm talking about letting something good, like letting a good feeling, good situation, a good conversation, let it move through you. The way I do that is right out the gate, is just contacting the body with softness. How much of the time are we just a little bit like tensed against life, armored? There's a real gentleness that comes in. when I start to let things move through my body, especially the good things. So for me, this really looks like moving, sometimes circling my hips, kind of getting myself to feel like I have a lower body. And then like that honey idea, that honey analogy I used at the beginning of this, like allowing the feeling of like imagining, okay, there's honey here in my brain, there's honey in my head, and now I'm just letting it drip down into my body. And that's how I start to move it through. And then it's just an allowance and a noticing. I think another thing that can happen here is when you're starting to do this, especially in the beginning, and maybe it's new, but then again, I've been doing this for years, and I still will have this happen sometimes where this thought will come in, am I doing it right? And I'm here to just answer that question for you right now. You can't get it wrong. So whatever the feeling is that's coming up, however you're moving it through, the fact that you're even doing it, it's enough. You're here. You're in your body. You're embodied. And now you're learning how to be in it and learning how to kind of read when I feel this, what does it kind of show me about this? Or when I kind of lean into this, what does it start to reveal about this over here? I was reading a book recently. It's called The Anatomy of Spirit by Carolyn Myss. I hope I'm saying her last name correctly. If I'm not, sorry. And she used this term that I loved, and it's called symbolic sight. So this is another piece here with the leaning into good, is noticing with symbolic sight. So a lot of times I think we can see different situations arise in 3D or just like in our day-to-day, and it can just kind of pass by. We don't take much meaning from it. But when we start to slow things down and realize everything is connected, what's happening in the spiritual realm is reflected in the material realm. It's reminding me of that Hermetic axiom that says, as above, so below. As within, so without. As the universe, so the soul. It's all connected. So when I start to learn how to do this with this idea of symbolic sight, and I'm reading situations and seeing that it's actually reflecting pieces of me back to me, life begins to become a bit more playful. Synchronicities start to arise even greater because you're starting to not just acknowledge them, but recognize them and then lean into them, which attracts more of them. It's magnetism. It's natural law. Astrologically speaking, we are in a really, really sacred spot for the next 8 days. The nodes of the moon, the north node represents where our collective is growing and evolving. And the south node of the moon reflects the past, where we're coming from, maybe things that we're releasing. There's a lot of gifts that can be there as well. Well, the nodes have been in, north node has been in Taurus, and south node has been in Scorpio. And I could talk for hours about this, I feel like. But for me, like, just kind of in some of the simplicity of this, or to try to keep it simple, that north node, Taurus, is getting us into our body. It's a call to come back to slow, to simple, to earth, to steady, to lay some ground, foundations, to seek beauty, pleasure, harmony. What is that for you specifically? This North Node has been pulling us in this direction, and it has been uncomfortable because on the other side of this with the South Node in Scorpio, in order to be in these bodies, in order to experience like what we were created for, to experience greatness, the miraculous, magic, heaven on earth. We're in quite a situation right now because to experience that, there is a release of old stories that must happen. And so these last 18 months, we have been purging. We have been releasing ties from the past that are deep and ancient, with power dynamics, power struggles, cycles in ways we felt manipulated or ways we have manipulated others. And this has all been shifting and rebalancing, and it's been difficult. It's been difficult. I really want to honor that. And this is for us. That came through so clearly last week. It's for us. So with these last 8 days of the nodes in this place, they are right now at this 0 degree point. I talked about this a little bit last week in my transit video as well. This 0 degree point is this point of limitless potential. It's like all and nothing. It's that like fertile void energy. And in this energy, a lot of times it can feel almost like you're getting blasted with a lot, because it's like anything that was left that wants to release before the nodes shift is going to rise up. And depending on how we've kind of participated with this over the last 18 months, it's going to look different for everybody. And maybe the way that it feels, and if it feels really cataclysmic, or if it feels like, hey, you know, I'm moving this through pretty easily. Neither are wrong. Neither are bad. No shame either way. But it's just nice to know and note. These nodes, I really want to mention too, are actually in a square right now to Pluto. And Pluto is the Lord of the underworld. He really gets us in touch with things that are trapped sometimes in our unconscious, places we've been blind to, maybe just patterns that are playing out really easily that we don't realize. Well, with a square to the nodes like this, Pluto is asking us to really feel, I was sensing it, 2 things this morning. Feel from that South Node in Scorpio. What are these last pieces that are rising up that want to be released? And when I say rising up, I mean situations in your life, physically. There's a beautiful, huge moth in this greenhouse right now with me. I'm so distracted. This is like right here. It's so gorgeous. Welcome. You are so here with us. Thank you for your energy. Okay, so with this, back to this. South Node in Scorpio. What are these last things wanting to release? So taking note this week, any hard conversations, any hard situations, you are not a victim. You are strong, you are resilient, you are grounded, and you can do this. So what is it? You can release it. And then the North Node in Taurus, I feel like, was the piece that this morning, it was like, choose me, just choose me. And to me, it was a very simple lean in to pleasure. Lean in where it feels good and when it feels good. So maybe you're just like having the most delicious dessert at the end of the day, or a glass of wine. Or maybe you're on a walk on the beach and you're just like in awe of the water. Or maybe you're literally just like at work and all of a sudden something just like feels like you just feel kind of that spark of like, oh, I feel really good right now. And you're just kind of like in the flow. Like, those are the moments I'm talking about. We're just like, let that honey trickle down and let it be like through you. Let it course through your veins. Receive it. It will only magnetize more. I woke up this morning with a song from the movie The Prince of Egypt just like floating in my awareness again. And I've really been thinking about the word miracles and just the miraculous, and that the reality is, truth with a capital T is, miracles are natural. They should be happening all the time. We tense them away. We push them away with our fear. We don't allow them to come through us and be with us. So how can we invite more miraculous in? And it's kind of funny because now my neighbor's doing something in their yard, but I'm gonna sing the line from this song and just invite us to really receive the words and the melodies into ourselves. And I would invite you, if this song comes through at all during your week this week, sing it. If you're in the car, maybe just even hum it. But like, really allow this energy of the miraculous to be with you. Welcome it in and see what happens. So here's the song. There can be miracles when you believe. Though hope is frail, it's hard to kill. Who knows what miracles you can achieve when you believe. Somehow you will. You will when you believe. Though hope is frail, it's hard to kill. That resiliency. It's huge. As we closed, I pulled an oracle card from my Isis oracle deck in honor of that Sirius portal last week with the star Sirius that is connected to Isis, the Great Mother. And I was a bit blown away because I've never pulled this card before. And I had to sit with it for a while, just with myself, and really just like release some tears, like in a beautiful way, because it spoke to me personally so deeply. But the card is called Cartouche. Divine, what is it? I wrote it down. Divine names of power. The image is of these hieroglyphs on a stone tablet. And the main idea, the frequency of this card, is that your words and your thoughts are power. They are your power. Superpower, really. Magic. Is there a word right now that's rising within you? A word that you could hold on to this week to anchor you, to ground you. I had a word rise this morning, and what I like to do when these things happen is I'll go on a walk with my word or a walk with my mantra, or take a shower with it. And what I'll do is, while the water's either pouring down on my body or my feet are just in their rhythm as I walk, I pretend like I'm taking the word into my mouth and I'm tasting it. What does it taste like when it's on my tongue? And I take it in. And then I pretend that I'm chewing it. And I'm breaking it down with my jaw and my teeth. And then I imagine that I'm swallowing it. And it's going down my throat, down my esophagus, into my stomach, where it merges with the fluids of me. And the bile inside of my stomach begins to infuse it with its own frequency and energy that's unique to me. And then I'll take it into my digestive system and I will let it infiltrate my entire being as it digests. What word wants to digest in you this week? Mercury, the mind, will be conjunct, which means it's merging and blending with Black Moon Lilith for this entire week. And Black Moon Lilith really connects us in with the ways that we have felt repressed, exiled, rejected, abandoned. And then the stories, and maybe some shadow stories, old stories, maybe some, distorted truth on what reality actually is regarding our mind and these stories. And this is all happening in this sign of Cancer, the sign of the mother, where we feel like we are having our needs met, where we feel like in its wisdom, it knows exactly what we need to be nurtured and nourished. But in its pain, it is where we've been abandoned and rejected. So this week, I am inviting us to work with this energy by allowing ourselves to merge with it. And then in that space, inviting in the miraculous, leaning in when there are good moments this week that feel delicious and delightful and full of beauty and harmony and pleasure. Lean in. I'm so grateful to be here with you now. It's an honor. I'm sending you waves of grounded Taurian earth energy as we all enter into this final release of the South Node in Scorpio. They will shift next Monday, July 17th, and I'll have more information for you about what is incoming as we get a little closer. But for now, take care, have a beautiful day, and lean into the good. Invite those miracles. And so it is.